what I'm doing now is I'm building an online educational platform that I believe will disrupt the way we teach science nowadays. I feel that we're all going through a big educational crisis. Schools are not working very well. The teachers are not being able to educate our children and generations of kids in the right way. They're coming out with a very deep focus on answering the correct question, and getting that right, not even understanding or thinking about what the question is, and not with what I believe is the most important thing, which is learning how to ask the right questions. So I want to shift the mindset in education from answering the correct question to learning how to ask the questions to begin with. And I want to do that in a very specific way. I have this idea of building an online platform where people can team up and enter not just as individuals, but as teams, because studies have shown that people learn science collaboratively, and sometimes they feel a little bit less intimidated than when they do so individually and they take the risk to ask a question. And kids are going to learn through a number of criteria what constitutes a deep, broad, original, and practical, in the sense that it's answerable, question. And the questions will be answered by the kids themselves, but also once a month we will select the best question, and it will be answered by a Nobel Prize winner or some cutting-edge scientist that is doing research, and it will be live video cast, and all the kids will be able to ask more and more questions. I think that will add to this movement that we're experiencing called hacking science, where just like we had Wikipedia and that sort of gave the power to the people of crowdsourcing the information about the world and facts around us, the same way I want to give the power back to the citizens who are paying with their own tax dollars the research that is funding the scientific discoveries around them. So I want those citizens to be able to fund the experiments and the things they'd like to see, because they're going to affect their communities directly, because they want some diseases cured, because they want solar panels installed in their own neighborhoods, etc. So I want to solve local problems that don't require huge amounts of funding, like an accelerator, for example, the Large Hadron Collider, the LHC. I'm talking about a smaller scale type of science where I want to pair citizens with scientists to collaborate together to crowdsource for the funding of these projects and be able to experiment themselves so that we can all learn science together. So it's sort of bringing back the responsibility of gaining knowledge to the home, to the parents, to the kids themselves, and not to a body of poor teachers that have the burden of teaching everybody the same content, and just everybody absorbing it at one point in time. It's sort of what Socrates used to say from philosophy. His method was called maieutics. Basically, it's the idea that people are pregnant with their own knowledge, and the role of the teacher, the process, is to help people to give birth to these ideas. So in a similar way, it's not that I'm imparting you concepts that you're memorizing and then spitting them out on an exam. That doesn't work, and we've seen that. What I want to do is create methods so that kids understand the process of science in the making. It is that process that makes you believe that there are no dumb questions, that anything from what happens when I brush my teeth, why does the sun rise once a day? Why does cheese melt? I mean, they sound like simple questions, but if you really look at the physics and the science behind them, there's an incredible amount of deep laws that are applied to all these phenomena. So the way I want to disrupt the process of creating science is not only by my communication science efforts, but also by creating ways in which people can ask questions dynamically. So it could be the mom helping her kid. It could be some organization, some medical organization trying to foster understanding about their technical products. And they want, a team of science communicators that will help them explain that in lay terms. When it comes to following your dreams, I realized one thing. Like I told you, I was pretty discouraged by my environment. So I had to make my own reality separate from what people told me. I had to create that. And I had to be strong enough to make my own self was, doubting my abilities to pursue a physics degree. I had to make myself believe that it was possible. And I tell you what I learned. Confidence is a muscle. It's not something that we're capped with genetically. It's something that the more you go after and the more you practice it, the better you'll become at it. So what happened with me is I realized that becoming fearless was not something that came naturally in the beginning. But I had to practice little by little. And I was rejected here and there, but I kept trying. I took another exam and I didn't do as well. Well, I took another one. And then I met one person and that could have helped me, and I was not shy. And then I realized that that was a helpful connection and that strengthened my ability to connect with others who may help me. Well, I try to reinforce that. So learning how to have your goal in mind and do the necessary steps by practicing little things that are going to get you all the way there. Because it doesn't take one huge leap. And rarely are the limits to our dreams financial. That's another thing I learned. A lot of people I encounter are, well, I would be an entrepreneur if only I had a lot of money as a cushion in case things don't work. Or I would do this if I had, some other financial means of sponsoring or funding my venture. And I always tell them, because I'm surrounded by people who had very little economical means and gave up a lot of their time and effort to pursue their dreams, I always tell them that the risk-taking abilities is something you can learn. It's not easy, and I'm not saying following a strange or unique dream is for everyone, but I am telling you that trying it out and becoming more and more confident of your ability to be comfortable with your own self and who you are will definitely lead to much more happiness and feeling complete than not doing so. In terms of being a woman, what I have learned is something that was pretty eloquently put in a recent study I read done by NYU, in which they call women in STEM, which stands for science, technology, engineering, and math. So women in sort of technical positions often face what's called a double bind, which means they're either likable or competent. So if you think of examples of women who are CEOs or clearly very competent women in their fields, a lot of the times, how are they perceived by their colleagues? They're not very likable. The other extreme of that is if a woman acts very likable in the field, a lot of her colleagues will say, yeah, she's probably not that good at what she does. And it's unfortunate because those are the two elements that make women succeed in life and in their career paths. Men, on the other hand, can both be very aggressive and still be quite liked by everyone. And it's actually perceived as a positive trait. So in that sense, I learned that the more you make women in institutions, and even men, actually more importantly, aware of this bias that exists, the more you'll be helping women rise up to their level and to the capacity that they have inherently. Simply cultivating the right culture that is accepting of different styles and different growth systems for people, to me that's the key to success in any field. I would call success the day that a person that takes science into their own backyard and hacks their own project and comes up with an incredible discovery is as valuable to society as somebody who's in an ivory tower discovering a very specialized thing that refined the concept of a very, very particular field.